G'day, this is Joe Cross from the movie Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead and from rebootwithjoe.com. I'm on Extreme Health Radio with Justin and Kate, and we are juicing up the world.
Welcome to Extreme Health Radio. Extreme Health Radio.
Where natural solutions to almost every health condition are out there. Join us on our journey to find them.
Now here are your hosts,
Broadcasting from sunny Southern California around the world.
Justin and Kate Stellman.
Well, we're having a good day here. It's actually not very sunny in Southern California right now, is it, Kate?
Not for July 1st. It's a bit of a bummer.
July 1st, 2013, and
we're shrouded in clouds.
You're shrouded in clouds and in coldness, but that's all good. My name is Justin, and this is my wife, Kate, and this is ExtremeHealthRadio.com, so we're glad to have you on and listening, and we broadcast worldwide from Southern California. And last I checked, we're in over 120 countries.
Crazy.
Which is amazing, right?
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're getting downloads from 120 countries, so this is great.
Love it.
And we do shows 4 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So it's a lot of fun doing those. And we also have a Facebook account, community, if you want to join us and join what we got going on there, keep up to date with the shows and all that kind of good stuff. You can do that at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook, and you can click the like button on there, and then you'll be off and running.
That's right, off and running.
Off and running. And again, this is July 1st, 2013. This is episode number 123 with Konstantin monastyrsky, and this is going to be a good show because we have had quite the feedback from Konstantin's first show in, I think it was December, episode 44. And so this will be a really, really good show. And if you want to join the show ever, you can do so, Justin at extremehealthradio.com or
Kate at extremehealthradio.com.
And another way to join the show that we're encouraging people to do is to go to extremehealthradio.com/voicemail. And right on that page, you can use your microphone on your computer and send in a question to the guest. And we encourage everyone to do that. That's a great way to send your question in. And also I wanted to let you know that if you'd like to support our work, you can do so anytime you buy on Amazon.com. So it's a great way to support what we have going on here. And, you know, it's really easy to do. And you can do so every single time you make a purchase, and we'll get a little commission. And it doesn't have to be health related. So if you want to go to extremehealthradio.com/Amazon, that would be a great way to support what we're doing here when you're already going to buy something online. So
everybody wins.
Everybody wins. There you go. And we've got some really great guests coming up. We need to actually fill the schedule out a little bit more. We're working on Tristan Truscott from the Qigong course that we promote, and he's a big Qigong guy, so we want to talk to him, and hopefully we're going to get him this week. And we've got Chris Kaler coming back. Chris Kaler coming back. And he is an energetic medicine kind of healer guy, and we had quite the show with him the very first time we had him on. So that would be a great show with Chris Kaler. And so today we have Konstantin monastyrsky, and we had, like I said before, quite a response to his first show, episode 44 in December. So he's a real guy that researches digestive issues, and he's written a bunch of books, but his most notable book is called Fiber Menace, which we have, and he's got a website called gutsense.org. So he's been researching digestive issues, which we all have, and he's been dealing with his own digestive issues. That's how he got started in this over 20 years ago with IBS and colitis and things like that. And on this episode, we're going to talk about there's a connection between laxatives, dementia, and autism. And we're going to be covering irritable bowel syndrome, diverticulitis, and colonoscopies. So thanks so much, Konstantin, for being on the show today. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for inviting me in. I'm surprised why it took us so long to get together again.
Yeah, I know. It took a while, but we're so glad to have you back.
Thank you. Let me introduce myself to our listeners. I'm a world-famous doctor of crapology.
Crapology.
That's why I
love it.
screamed when you started to introduce me that I am an expert in crops. Everything about not crops, but CRAP. Well, joke aside, I spend more time studying the subjects than probably anybody else in the world.
Wow. And so you actually had your own issues, I think it was over 20 years ago with IBS and things, right?
Yes, I did. This was a long time ago, thanks God. They never go away, really. I have to be very careful because all the digestive issues have a very strong autoimmune component. And it takes years and years to work them out. And being, socially active, I like sense, meaning like eating well, drinking, carousing. So unfortunately, I don't have a patience required to like stay off everything for 7 years to let my autoimmune system to let my immune system to work antibodies out of it. And so I do sometimes run into problems. But fortunately, things got on a scale from, let's say, 0 to 10, 0 being the worst and being the best. I used to be around 8 most of my life, and now I am usually around 1 or 2. So it's considering my age, it's a blessing. I'm pretty good. I'm very happy with what I have.
Yeah, that's great. And so what were some of the symptoms you had years ago with the IBS and things?
When perpetual bloating, perpetual abdominal pain in the lower abdomen, hemorrhoids by the age 18, and since I used to smoke until about 30, smoking and drink a lot, obviously, and drinking and smoking and hemorrhoids, they are pretty much incompatible conditions. So I used to suffer like every few months with a very severe inflammation. Then later on in life, after I quit smoking, I developed a severe constipation. Went to one of the top New York doctors in gastroenterology, really very nice guy. And he suggested that I switch over to high-fiber diet, which I did. And that was a disaster. The more problems they were developing, the more they were telling me, you have to eat more fiber. More fiber, it's a solution to everything. So the more I was eating fibers, the worse I was feeling. And then it get to the point where I was in such a bad shape that I switched over to a complete vegetarian diet, assuming it's going to be even healthier. And 4 years down, finally a salvation came in the form of type 2 diabetes, a very severe one, late stage. And that when I was kind of forced to go on zero carbohydrates diet, and zero carbohydrate diet by definition is fiber free. And suddenly I started to feel better. A lot of my IBS related symptoms and constipation related symptoms and hemorrhoids related symptoms abated. And then it took me years to figure out why. And around 2005, I finally made a connection between fiber and its role, dietary fiber and its role in constipation. Now, let me tell everybody, if you consume normal diet, regular foods, including fruits, vegetables, what have you, unprocessed food, breads, pasta, rice, all the natural normal foods have a very, very low fiber content.
Okay.
So if you have like an average American diet, to 2,500 to 3,000 calories, consuming normal, regular foods, you may be consuming at best 10, 12 grams of fiber. That will have no detrimental effect on your health unless you have some other serious issues like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease or what have you.
Okay.
Or inflammatory bowel disease. But, so when I wrote my book entitled Fiber Menace and I started to discuss those issues, I wasn't about to say to people, hey, drop everything that contains a trace of fiber. Not at all. The issue is not with fiber in normal foods. The issue is with supplemental fiber intentionally added to foods, such as bread with bran, or cereals fortified with fiber, or fiber laxatives.
Oh, I see.
Or intentionally seeking out foods with very high fiber content and consuming them with abandon, such as, for example, potato skins.
Oh, okay. So what are some of the foods that are highest in fiber then?
None really. I mean, natural foods that we generally, even, people say broccoli is high in fiber. Broccoli is not really high in fiber. I mean, you have to consume a ton of broccoli or a ton of cauliflower to get enough fiber. But remember, also there are two types of fibers. There is what is called soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. And Soluble fiber, which is essentially not a fiber in traditional sense of the word. Papers that we use, toilet papers that we use, is also fiber.
Okay.
Except they add glue to keep it together, and when you're looking at a writing paper, it just has more glue than a toilet paper, so it has stiffer structure. But there is also what is known as soluble fiber. For example, pectin in apples, it's a fiber, it's a soluble fiber.
Okay.
And when they use a medical term fiber, what it means is fiber is undigestible substance. It means that we don't have in our digestive system enzymes strong enough to break it down.
Are there issues with the raw versus the cooked? Like with broccoli, for example, some people can't do that raw.
Oh, right.
Well, fiber can't really be cooked. It's like what will happen if you start boiling paper?
I see. Okay.
It's not going to get any tasty. It's not going to absorb salt. It's not going to change its shape. If you grill paper, it will burn.
Okay.
So that's a blessing.
Okay.
But in all other respects, fiber, it doesn't change its properties substantially, except maybe it burns and it becomes even more hostile to your body.
Okay, so really quickly, what is the deal then with our whole entire culture? If fiber is indigestible, how come our whole culture is saying fiber, fiber, fiber? I'm sure there's a lot of money in it then.
That is correct. And it's not like it used to be. It's a recent phenomenon. It started about 25 years ago. And obviously it started by commercial interests. And what we refer to as fiber is essentially bran. And bran used to be like a throwaway commodity. At best, people can sell a ton or bushel for a few cents as a livestock feed. And then when food industry realized, gosh, we can take that junk, a horse feed or a livestock feed, and mill it and make it consumable to humans, we can make an enormous amount of money.
Wow.
By adding this junk to regular food supply. And that's how fiber came about. And obviously, when you sell what used to be a horse feed to people, you have to find some justification for it.
So I'm sorry. So how come so many people are having digestive issues if there's not that much or that that high of an amount of fiber in traditional foods? Are a lot of people taking the additional supplements then?
Well, people are having digestive issues for zillions of reasons, other than fiber.
Okay.
It may be because of overeating. It may be because of wrong sequencing of food. It may be because of stress. It may be because of taking medication. It may be because of abusing alcohol. It may be because of abusing drugs. So there are so many reasons behind digestive disorders that we can't really connect. I mean, and they're all related in one way or another to what you're eating.
Uh-huh.
And so when we come to a physician with a question, how do I take care of these problems that I have? He or she will never ask you, tell me about your diet, tell me about your lifestyle, tell me about your work, tell me about the way you dress, tell me about medication you used to take over the last 20 years. No. They will simply ask, do you consume enough fiber? And you say, no. Well, that's a solution. The son, daughter, or whatever, lady, miss, go back home and just consume more fiber. And that will solve all of your problems. And unfortunately, it will not. But, doctors are winners in this whole thing because the more problems you develop, digestive problems, health problems, any kind of problems, the more money they generate by billing insurance companies, by charging you directly, by admitting you to a hospital, by making exploratory or real surgeries. And finally, when we die, the last 10 months of our life generates to a medical sector anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000. So it's a very profitable racket to make people sick.
Wow. So what's going on with the fiber when it moves through your system? What's happening?
Well, nothing. I mean, it just moves.
Okay.
It clogs up your delicate organs. It affects the problem with the fiber really when it comes, again, because we mentioned earlier, there are two types of fiber, soluble and insoluble.
Okay.
And oats is a good example of products that contain soluble and insoluble fiber in fairly large quantities. And that's why a lot of people start their day with oats. And when you ask people, why are you eating oats? They say, well, it's, because it improves because this is the only way I can have stools.
Right.
And this came from England. It's not like it was an American invention. And the reason why, and again, oats also is like a new phenomenon to human nutrition. It wasn't like a traditional food. Because people never really had, in the native habitat, people never had constipation. It's very hard to develop one if you live a la natural, al fresco. Because anytime you want to defecate, you just sit down and you do it. But when we moved to cities and we started to live urban life and working 9 to 5, and you woke up at 7 in the morning, you jump into your car and you drive to work, and you have suddenly an urge to move bowels, which most people do have in the morning. Can you stop the car? Can you walk to the side of the highway? And
Right.
Can't. So what you do is you use your skills to constrain your rectum or rectal cavity, and you essentially stop the act of defecation. And so you come to work, and your day starts with a meeting, and you go on until 12, and then you go out with your colleagues for lunch, and you have an urge again after lunch, 10 minutes down. Will you go to the bathroom? A lot of people will not. Ladies will say, hey, it's dirty, I don't want to do it, I'll wait until I come home. Some men are happy to do it anywhere, but many men like me, I was brought up by a very fastidious mother, which really, it was a huge disservice. And she actually, when I was a kid, she told me, never go to the bathroom at school or outside of the home. Home is the only safe place to move bowels.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
So when I was a child, that's why I developed the problem so early, because she taught me the social skill of terminating the urge sensation. And what happens when you do this? When you stop a natural bowel, when you constrain a bowel movement or restrain. Actually, there is a word for that. I just lost it. But if you remind me, what happens is the function of the large intestine is to recover fluids from stools.
Okay.
That's why we don't have diarrhea. And when the large intestine misfires, that's when we have diarrhea. And so if stool stays in the colon too long, it does a very good job by moving those fluids out. And high, quote unquote, high quality stools, high quality crabs, their water content is about 70 to 75%.
Okay.
Anything above 75% is diarrhea. Anything below 67, 65% is rock hard stools. And when they become hard, they're very difficult to move out. And to move them out, we start to strain because, more and more coming from the top.
Mm-hmm.
And is that the reason why people should drink water and eat?
No, water does nothing. Your intestines are not like a straight pipe. When you drink water, it gets into the stomach. Only 5% of the water may assimilate in the stomach, and then it streams down to the small intestine.
Okay.
And it never reaches the colon. It assimilates completely. If we could drink water and move bowels right away, it means that, every time you take a few drinks, so you would have a diarrhea. If somebody doubts what I'm saying, when the show is over, drink 4 or 5 glasses of water in a row and see if it will have any effect on your bowel movements. None. Why? Because the water will assimilate in the small intestine. Small intestine is a huge organ, the small intestine. It's almost 15 meters long, 15 foot long. It's 5 meters long. It's a very large organ. So it's not like, and its design, its intention, its function is to assimilate water. So drinking more water is not a solution to this issue. Moving bowels, the only solution to keep stools moist and small is to actually move them regularly, ideally after every meal, because after we eat a meal, we develop what is called colorectal mass movement, meaning, we just have like this sensation where we start peristaltic mass movement, peristalsis starts, and that's when we feel the urge sensation, and that's when we have to actually respond to it. So it's especially important to parents of young kids to understand that you should never, ever teach your child to suppress bowel movement.
Yeah.
It's learnable, but it's really a very bad skill because the moment the kid will learn it, kids prefer to be social, kids prefer to hang around, they don't want to go to the bathroom, and by learning to restrain stools, that's what leads to stools hardening up, bulking up, increasing in size, and then when they start to strain, they develop hemorrhoids. And now actually hemorrhoids became a pediatric problem. Now a lot of young children at age 5, 6 develop hemorrhoids.
Oh,
Wow,
man.
that's amazing. What do you make of the position of the toilet and the feet being down? We have one of those little things called the squatty potty next to our thing. What do you make of all that?
For healthy people, if you are healthy, I would say by up to age 50, about 50% of people don't have really any problem with constipation. And we know for sure that 50% of those people, they move bowels using a regular toilet stool, toilet bowl. Very few people use a squatting position. People in India do actually use squatting positions. They have this very fascinating toilets, is very much unlike ours. And the problem with constipation and hemorrhoids in India just as pervasive as in the United States.
Interesting.
Wow.
Not more.
So after the break, I want to talk about some of the things you were talking about in our correspondence back and forth. You mentioned the connection between laxatives and autism, and we're going to get into irritable bowel syndrome and diverticulitis and things. We also have a listener question that we'll get to after the break. And if you are interested in what Konstantin Monastyrsky is talking about, you can visit his website, which is gutsense.org, and you can follow him on Facebook and sign up to his newsletter and all that at gutsense.org. And you can also listen to our previous episode with him in December of 2012 on episode 44. So feel free to do that. And we're having a good time here talking about poop. And we'll be right back with Konstantin Monastyrsky after this break. Rebounding is, in my mind, one of the best ways to detoxify your lymphatic system, and it's the only exercise on earth that will actually detoxify your lymphatic system. And your lymph system is responsible for storing toxins and chemicals and poisons that you're exposed to, and there's no pump for the lymph system. It doesn't have a heart, so you have to move it up and down, and it's filled with millions of one-way valves that get squeezed and pushed and opened and closed every time you jump. And we feel like we found the best rebounder on the market today. It's the Rolls Royce of rebounding. It's called the Bellicon. And I highly, highly stand behind this product. It's absolutely amazing. If you want to hear what some of our guests said about it, check them out on our store. You can listen to what a lot of our guests have said about rebounding and the Bellicon in particular. So a lot of times people will go on the rebounder with oxygen for cancer if they're really sick. And it's one of the most powerful things you can do to cleanse your body and to exercise every single cell in your body, every organ in your body. It's the only internal organ exercise you could do. And it's absolutely incredible. It also helps to rebuild bone density because of the up and down motion, the G-force that gets applied to every cell of your body, and it tightens and tones your body, and it's just really, really great aerobic exercise. And the Bellicon is made with straps, these bungee cords instead of springs, so it's silent and they have a warranty on it. It's the best rebounder on the market today. So if you're in the market for one, I would highly recommend just saving up and getting the Bellicon, because there's no other rebounder on the market that's better than this thing. I firmly believe that. So if you're interested in it, check it out at extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. That's B as in boy, ELLICON. And you can learn more about it and watch the videos on that page too. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy your rebounder, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
100% listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Don't forget to join our thriving community for health tips, inspiration, and show updates at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook.
All right, we're having a good time here talking about digestion and poop.
Yes, we are.
I think it's an interesting subject because it's an interesting way of looking at it, because our culture is so, like, we're removed from anything that's actually like our bodily
Like
functions.
really going on with our bodies.
Yeah, you know, it's
know.
like everything is really,
People are funny. They're either uncomfortable to talk about it or afraid of talking about it. But
yeah, it's always
kinda
swept
sad.
under the rug, you know,
I know.
sexual things or this kind of stuff, or
Yeah.
it's really weird how that works. But I think it's important to talk about because it's stuff that we all do, and it affects our health tremendously. So I think it's really, really important to talk about, and you can listen, and no one knows what you're listening to, you know, kind of thing. So
totally get your questions answered without actually having to put yourself out there.
That's right. And we're with Konstantin Monastyrsky from gutsense.org and author of fibermenace.com. And before the break, we mentioned a listener question that we'd like to get to, but during the break, Kate, you had a question.
Well, yeah, Konstantin, I was wondering real quick your take on fresh juices. I know a ton of our listeners, as well as ourselves, make a juice every day, and apparently that takes the fiber out of the juice that we're drinking. Do you feel like juices are a good way to get vitamins and minerals and things like that, or
I don't.
you don't?
I don't.
Why is that?
First of all, it's a very expensive way of getting what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, juicing is not the way. Juicing will not provide you with the most critical vitamins, which are fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, and K.
Okay.
They're simply not part of juices. Thirdly, you are squeezing out dead fruits or vegetables that you bought from a store that were harvested weeks or maybe even months before they got to your house. And since a fruit or vegetable is a living organism and its function is to protect a seed or a nut, the moment it's pulled out from the tree, it starts to return all those nutrients, including vitamins, to the seed to stay alive. And so by the time you squeeze it, the actual vitamin content in that fruit or vegetable is very low. And furthermore, when you go through the process of aeration and mechanical pressure used during juice squeezing, you lose even more. That's why, for example, people drink freshly squeezed orange juice thinking that they're getting a lot of vitamin C, but actually vitamin C in freshly squeezed orange juice is so low that our government mandates fortification of the orange juice. So vitamin C is added artificially to make sure that you get your fix of vitamin C.
Okay, so
that's number one. Number two, juicing, especially when you juice vegetables and fruits with skins, exposes you to herbicides, pesticides, fumigates, whatever, and whatever other chemicals are used during harvesting, storage, and storage of those particular fruits and vegetables, and in the concentrated quantities. And even if this particular product is organic, but even during organic harvesting uses natural herbicides and pesticides, but they're still using them, and so they get into your body in concentrated form. Juicing allows you to consume in one serving 5 to 10 times more of a nutrient, quote unquote, of a product than if you would have to chew it with your own teeth. Thirdly, juices, especially fruit juices, contain a very large amount of sugars. People who drink a freshly squeezed orange juice, and remember, oranges today are cultivated for sweetness so that they're palatable to the consumers, to a consumer. And a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice contains about 35 to 40 grams of sugar, which is an equivalent of 2 full tablespoons of sugar.
Wow.
So health-conscious people who are in sound mind will never eat 2 tablespoons of sugar. They will still consume a glass of orange juice thinking that, they're benefiting their own health or health of their children. Fourthly, concentrated juices are diuretics. They're strong diuretics. And that may also cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. And they're also highly allergenic because, again, you consume a lot of nutrients which were not intended for human consumption originally. Fruits and vegetables, everything in nature exists for a purpose, but not for the purpose of us eating them. fruits and vegetables are fairly recent phenomena in human nutrition. Everything that we are consuming today is cultivated, is an outcome of agriculture, intentional agriculture. If you ask people 100 years ago, did they have access to fruits and vegetables year-round? They will say, no. It's how can we? Because we live in we have changes of climates. We go from spring to summer to autumn to winter. So we can't really consume oranges, let's say, year-round. And unfortunately, juicing allows you to consume foods that were not really intended for year-round consumption. And I guess there was an evolutionary rationale for it. And so people who consume juices, they compromise that rationale. Now, the goal of juicing is honorable. Get rid of fiber, get rid of skins, do it in a hurry. But again, it's an expensive process. It's a fairly expensive habit. And if you are after the vitamins or minerals, it's much cheaper probably to spend $30-40 a month for high-quality professional-grade supplements and take them, rather than to count on juices to provide the same. Do they taste well? Yes. Are they addictive? Yes, because of high sugar content. Are they healthy? In my book, no.
So with the juices, you were talking about how, they're picked so long before most of the time, the fruits and vegetables that people use to juice. Couldn't the same be said for people eating those same fruits fruits or vegetables? I guess those same pieces of fruits would still be low in vitamins and minerals because of that same reason, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's why I don't eat any fruits or vegetables except for taste and use them in cooking for taste or for just, creating a pleasurable dish. And the only vegetables that I consistently consume is essentially pickles from a Russian food store. Because they contain salt, which my body needs and craves for, and because they're fun and tasty, and spicy.
Yeah, it's interesting how the whole agriculture thing works, because a lot of the fruits and vegetables we are eating have been hybridized and created essentially, right? I mean, they're not wild.
Exactly. All artificial, exactly. And people who used to create them, they were famous in their own times.
Yeah, it's so interesting. We have a listener question. I believe I sent you the email of this too. So this is from Stella from New York, and she has quite a few questions here. Would you be interested in tackling all of them, or do you want to just do a handful of these?
Well, let's try.
Okay.
I know Stella, she writes me a lot, and she wants me to use a walking encyclopedia of health knowledge. And I told her, Stella, I'm not that. I love incidentally, when you were talking about people being uncomfortable to discuss poops, actually, some emails I get, I blush.
Really?
Yeah, I find people they send me questions, they describe their toilet habits. And by the way, Kate, I have a question for you. I guess girls, when they do get together, especially mothers of young children, they discuss everything, right?
This is true.
Yeah. So it's mostly men.
And by the way, we all, as children and even now, go to the bathroom in groups. You've probably noticed when we're out at dinner and things like that. It's ridiculous.
So girls are immune to this. Girls are medical writers who deal with the subject.
Yes, it's so funny.
That's funny. So her first question here is, if you could take one supplement, what would it be? Probiotics or vitamin C?
It depends. There is no, again, this is an answer kind of, that somebody, a very inexperienced person who want to please the listeners will have a response to that.
Uh-huh.
But there is no simple response. It's a legitimate question. And if somebody would ask me that question and I would say, well, what kind of diet do you own? If you're on vegetarian diet, then if I would have a chance to take only one single supplement, it would be vitamin B12. Because if you don't get it, and people don't get it from vegetarian diets, they die eventually, so much faster.
Okay.
If I would be on a carnivore diet, then it would be, polio style diet, then it would be vitamin C, because this type of diets do lack vitamin C, and unfortunately, human body, just like with vitamin B12, does not produce enough vitamin C or at all to maintain good health.
Okay. Okay.
And probiotics, no. Probiotics have nothing to do with this. Probiotics, means that you take in a pill form, they're not effective. They do perform a function if high quality probiotics perform a function of a stool filler, but if you expect them to restore your promoidal microbiota, no, they cannot do this because they contain only like 15, 16 strains, and human microbiota contains hundreds of strains, 600 to 700.
Yeah, I remember
all very different kind, and they live in a very particular symbiosis. And so probiotics, conventional probiotics, or probiotics from yogurts and fermented dairy or fermented foods, no, well, they cannot restore it once it's damaged.
Yeah, you were talking about, I think last time, I'm not sure if this was on the air or off the air, but human implantable probiotics that they were doing with the feces of kids from us.
Fecal bacteria therapy. I have a big news for you. FDA finally approved this as experimental drug.
Really?
You take somebody, anonymous crap, it becomes experimental drug, and the reason for charging $2,000 to just implant it down your, pump it up your ass. It's really funny.
Wow, that's
any moment FDA gets into the picture, even crap becomes expensive.
Oh my gosh! So, is there a place that people? How do they do that? And is there a place they get these things? Or
you have to go to a board-certified gastroenterologist, bring their own blender, find a friend or a spouse or a child with normal stools, and take a week-long course of antibiotics. Then flush themselves up with something like Miralax, and then a doctor will use endoscope to infuse that fluid inside the large intestine.
Oh my God.
I've heard there's a connection. I forget who the doctor was. There's some doctor in Australia, you probably know, that is having really great success with autism doing that.
Yes. You really, it's a deceptive thing. Autism is essentially irreversible condition, technically speaking. Well, it's a spectrum, so there are lots of diseases or disorders or conditions that are part of what is this very complex syndrome.
Okay.
But essentially, once a child develops neurological damages, they're mostly irreversible. But since autistic children are having so many problems to begin with, once you start improving their health with whatever means at your disposal, and it simply improves their quality of life, and some of the autistic, what we perceive as spectrum disorder conditions, they abate. So yes, this will work. And as you know, digestive disorders are primary, manifestations of autism, and that's why it's so difficult to manage those children. And I do have a lot of, this is a very complex issue, and I'm not really, I don't discuss this like perpetually, but on my website, I discuss autism a lot, and I have a lot of quote-unquote discoveries. I think I'm the first person to actually outline the pathogenesis of type 1 diabetes and autism. And people in the autistic community, they literally laugh at what I say. But 15 years ago, I kind of developed a treatment for the reversal of type 2 diabetes, and everybody was laughing at me and everything I was saying, and now it's mainstream.
Yeah.
7 years ago, I was advocating fecal bacteria therapy. Everybody was laughing at me, saying this guy is an idiot, crazy Russian. Now it's mainstream. Now it's FDA approved.
Wow.
So people who ignore what I write or say about autism, they do it at their own peril. And those people are, technically speaking, I contacted a lot of specialists on this subject, and they told me to literally, the blip term, blip. And those people are criminals, essentially. They are hiding because I don't have, I'm grateful to you for giving me this platform. But mainstream, like major morning radios, take the likes of Dr. Oz and this and that, I'm persona non grata there. The New York Times, for them, I am a devil because what I say is so much against of what their sponsors, meaning advertisers, want to say. Like saying colonoscopy is terrible thing, it doesn't do thing, or saying fiber is bad for you. They derive most of their business from advertisers who promote this specific things. So people who dismiss what I write and what I say, they are essentially committing, it's not criminal in the United States to share somebody else's opinion, but if you're a parent or if you're a physician and you're involved in this autistic treatment and you ignore, you endanger children. Just take 5 minutes to read. Use a conventional logic. Open up your eyes. Open up your mind. Not for a money's sake. If you're a professional, if you're a physician, you will still continue making money because people, technically speaking, myself including, are stupid. We are self-destructive. We don't live for wellness. So doctors will always be busy. the idea, the concept that somebody can discover all the solutions and everybody will suddenly become well and healthy is a kakamani idea. People will continue to get sick for zillions of reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
But to prevent this atrocity of autism, a generation ago it was only 0.1% of kids. Now it's 1%, and it's devastating for children. It's devastating for parents. It's devastating for society. It's very costly. Mm-hmm. And the moment I go on Autistic Forum and saying, hey, read this, and everybody's screaming at me saying, this guy is a criminal, what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. My doctor knows best. We're doing everything right for our children. I mean, that's very, very, very unfortunate. And me not being a Ralph Nader type persona, I'm a very private person. I really kind of, I just kind of, squeeze my shoulders and I get embarrassed. I go in a corner and I just cry to myself.
Oh,
man. Wow. So this is some interesting information, and I'm sure it's information that you've never heard before. And when we get back, we're going to talk more about all of these same kind of issues, and we want to cover some issues like the colonoscopies that he kind of talked about, because everybody
I really want to talk about that.
Everyone's getting colonoscopies.
Guys, you're too young to talk about that. You are 15 years away, and by 15 years from now, 20 years away from. But in that time, by the time you'll be due for colonoscopy, everything that I wrote 5 years ago will become mainstream. You'll never get it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. So we're with
we can talk about it.
Konstantin Monastyrsky. His website is getsense.org, and you can check out his book Fiber Menace. And we'll be right back after this break. As of this recording, we've done about 56 shows so far, I believe, or 57, I think it is now. And this is a website and a project that Kate and I are fully committed to, and it's my life's work. And I've been into health and nutrition and helping people for so many years. And if you at all want to donate to us to help support our work, we would greatly, greatly appreciate that. You can just go to extremehealthradio.com/donate. And a lot of people think that if they donate $1 or $2, that doesn't mean much. But if all you have is $1 or $2, that would be so helpful if you wanted to donate to help keep our website free. We don't want to charge for this work. We don't want to charge for the interviews at all. I know a lot of people are doing that these days, and that's okay. Everyone has to make money, but we want to keep things free so that if people really, really need this information and this help, they can access it without having to pay anything. So if you have $1 or $2 or $5 or $10, please go to extremehealthradio.com/donate, and you can read our story on there and donate as little as $1 or as much as you like. And you can even do it on a monthly basis too if you like, but that will help keep it free for people who can't afford to do that, and it will help support our work. We'll use the money to buy equipment to make sure the shows stay really good quality, and to pay all of our bills for the hosting, for the phone lines, for the server costs, for all the equipment we need and the software and all of that. So we really, really want to put out a good show for you so that you can enjoy it and not charge. So if you can spare $1 or $2, we would greatly, greatly appreciate that. So thank you so much for being a part of our work. And if you donate, please let me know. I will thank you personally, and let me know if there's anything I could ever do for you. You can email me, justin@extremehealthradio.com, and my wife and I would love to help you out in any way we possibly can. So thanks for listening and being a part of what we do. And again, just let me know if I can help in any way. And let's get back to the show.
All free shows, all the time on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
All right, we're having a great time here with Konstantin Monastyrsky from gutsense.org, and he's the author of Fiber Menace, and really, really, really interesting guy. And a lot of the things that he's saying are not things that you're going to hear on Dr. Oz or on Yahoo or anything like that. So I want to thank you guys for being on the call today. And Konstantin, a little bit before the break, we were talking about some of the issues with colonoscopies, and I want to touch on that because I feel like that's an issue that it comes up for a lot of people, and doctors really pressure and put the pressure on hard for people to get these colonoscopies. And what are some of the issues you found with these things?
Well, there are two types of colonoscopy. There is what is called diagnostic colonoscopy, which is, you, God forbid, somebody comes to the hospital with a bleeding, and it's coming out from your behind, and doctors need to find out what's the cause of it. They will use diagnostic colonoscopy, desirably. Nowadays, they don't even do this. They don't bother. They just throw you on the CAT scan machine. You get an equivalent of about 500 X-rays in about 30 seconds, which will increase your chance of getting any cancer by about 20%. You will get a dose of radiation worth about 10 millisieverts, which is about the same dose of radiation people got during atomic bomb explosion in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, who were about maybe 10 miles away from the epicenter. And the reasons they prefer to do this because it's faster, it's cheaper, and it doesn't cost the hospital anything, but they make a lot of money charging for this procedure.
Okay.
So there was a little aside. So if you do get in a hospital and you're offered the value out of the show and you're offered CAT scan, don't take it. I mean, if you're dying, that's the only time when you can take CAT scan. Every single hospital has MRI machine, but MRI machines are about several times more expensive than CAT scan machines.
Uh-huh.
And the reasons they don't use MRI on everybody is because, let's say, if a person has a pacemaker, it's a metallic thing. It has some radio components in it. Magnetic resonance imaging, meaning there's a very strong magnetic field will kill this electronic device.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have a pacemaker or you don't have, anything metallic parts in your body, then you're fine. Insist on MRI. Never take CAT scan. I mean, your life has to be on this. I mean, you have to literally face the risk of dying before you agree to a CAT scan.
Wow. So they're that dangerous.
500 times of, let's step back 20, 30 years ago. And you would go to dentist. Your mother will take you to a dentist. And what would be the first thing on her mind? Doctor, can we do as little X-rays as possible? Right?
Right.
Why? Well, because X-ray, especially, when exposing your head to X-ray, it's a source of ionizing radiation. And ionizing radiation causes cancers. So you bring a 2-year-old child who just, fell down playing football, 10-year-old child playing football. He fell down and a little bit drowsy. And doctors want to save his, quote-unquote, save his life. They throw him on the CAT scan machine, a full head CAT scan, 5 millisieverts of radiation. Ups his lifetime or her lifetime risk of any cancer by 10 times.
Oh, my
4 of my
gosh.
close friends died from brain cancer recently. 4. One of them is a physician.
So do you think there's an issue with going through the airport scanners too?
No. It's a digital X-ray. It's a very small dose. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal.
Okay.
You probably get more radiation just flying around.
Okay, so CAT scans. I've heard CAT scans are equivalent to 3 or 4 flights, I think, from LA to New York and back. One CAT scan.
I would say 500 flights from. It's one X-ray, maybe an equivalent of 3 or 4.
Wow.
One slice, and you're exposed to 500 when you do abdominal CAT scan.
Okay.
Back to colonoscopy. So there are 2 types of colonoscopies: diagnostic and preventative.
Okay.
And so the controversy is not over diagnostic colonoscopy. If you're bleeding from your behind, you do need to have one. So the doctors can find out what's behind it. Is it an ulcer? Is it a cancer? Is it something else? Is it coming from above? It's critical. It will save your life. So if anybody will say, hey, monastyrsky against colonoscopy, that person is an idiot. I'm not against colonoscopy. I'm not against antibiotics. I am not against anything. I am for common sense. And a common sense tells me if we take a 50-year-old person who is absolutely healthy, has no risk of colon cancer. And by the way, colon cancer is predominantly genetic disease. And people who will die from genetic colon cancers, they will die by age 45. That's what happened to Kati Korek's husband. He died from a genetic colon cancer.
Who was that?
Kati Korek's husband.
Oh,
is the lady behind this whole hysteria with colonoscopy.
Right.
That's right.
She was told that, if your husband would have a colonoscopy by age 15, he died at 45. He would survive colon cancer.
Right.
That's how it started.
Okay.
But, you get a colonoscopy when you have a genetic colon cancer. At 40, you will die anyway. It's not treatable unless you will get your colon amputated around age 40 and it's called a procedure called a colectomy, and will wear a bag for the rest of your life. It's a similar procedure to what Angelina Jolie did with her breasts. By the way, the most stupid thing a person could ever done. And she's completely stupid. I mean, it's a problem of a very rich people. She had a devastating surgery. This is pretty much her life, her career is over. She never recovered from it. It's a devastating thing, regardless of how high quality care she got. And if I would be in her position, I would say I'd rather die from a breast cancer, but will have a fulfilled life. Especially because I die, my children will get the best of everything.
That's right.
And at age 40, to go through that, she ruined her life. She ruined the life of her husband. She ruined the life of her children. She traumatized. I mean, a tooth extraction. Imagine just a tooth extraction, how bad it is.
Right.
It's amputating both breasts and then going on through a lot of restoration work. I mean, it's devastating, and most likely she will also follow up with hysterectomy, and it will be even worse.
I guess that was part of the surgery. Is they took her ovaries out
Afterward,
as well.
yeah.
Well, so now she's in early menopause,
Right.
and it has, it will have a very devastating effect on her personal life, and she will start to age very early on. And by aging, premature aging exposes you to all other cancers.
Wow.
And so I think, you can be very rich because of some assets. And she's a phenomenal actress. She's absolutely stunning woman. But you see, she surrounded herself with celebrity doctors, the same doctors that killed Steve Jobs, the same doctors that was treating, I guess, Mr. Gandolfini. What's the guy from Sopranos?
Oh,
Gandolfini.
Yeah.
James Gandolfini, yeah, died from a cardiac arrest. And it's devastating. I mean, it's amazing. So anyway, go back to colonoscopy. So when we take a healthy person and subject this person, man or woman, to a screening colonoscopy, this is the highest risk diagnostic procedure one can undergo. A lot of people in the process, more people will die from side effects of screening colonoscopies than from a colon cancer itself.
Isn't that interesting? So there's a lot of room for Dr. Ayer there.
Enormous amount of room. And it's all documented on my website. It's not documented from my opinion. I don't know anything about it. It's, I just go on in medical journals and I read. Kind of risk for kidneys, kind of risk for liver, kind of risk for central nervous system, kind of risk for the colon, kind of risks for immune system, whatever. And it's all listed there. I'm an analyst. I am not a scientist. I'm not a researcher. I'm an analyst. I take publicly available blue chip information, I read it and I interpret it. I translate it into normal English. So if you go in on website of, let's say, New England Journal of Medicine and website, and there is an article there which says screening colonoscopy in no way reduces a chance of colon cancers that after 2 years down after colonoscopy. And by the way, you do it at 50, then your next one is due at 60. But regardless of doing it or not, at age 52, the same percentage of people will die from colon cancer, irrespective. Or when you read that 30% of all of cancers, polyps are missed during the colonoscopy. Or when you read an information which says that essentially 95% of the polyps that are removed during the colonoscopy are benign anyway. They're not going to cause colon cancer. But the risk of bleeding from removing this polyp actually exceeds the cost of the risk of dying from cancer.
Wow.
So when you read that, since this whole hysteria with colon cancer started and with colonoscopies, and I'm saying it reduces your risk of cancer by 70 to 80%, but actually the rates of colon cancers are up. So, when you kind of combine all those facts together and when you consider all those medical risks and you say, well, it's a pointless thing. Now, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, a lot of people were questioning the value of prostate screening.
Right.
Now it's became mainstream. Prostate screening is very dangerous. People who will die from prostate cancer, they will die no matter what. And people who will ruin their life from prostate screening around age 55, 60, they will never be as good as they were before, and they will suffer from impotence and incontinence for the rest of their life.
So this gets into a subject matter here, because a lot of people are interested in early detection, and I know the medical industry loves the early detection. And a lot of people, it's interesting in our culture, they feel like they really want to be on top of their health, and the only thing that they know about is to do early screening and these kinds of detection, colonoscopies and breast mammograms and things. If we remove all of those and say, hey, there's a better way of doing it, or what would you say if someone who really wants to stay on top of their health, what are some alternative tools or methods or lifestyle habits or whatever that they could say, okay, I'm going to replace getting a yearly mammogram with this, or a yearly colonoscopy, or whatever it is with this new thing?
It's amazing. We live in a Christian country, or not just Christian, Judeo-Christian country, and with all due respect to our Muslim brothers. And then, I met a rabbi. I'm Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to a rabbi, and he asked me questions about his health, and asked him what kind of medications he's taking. And he was taking statins, cholesterol-reducing medications.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like this rabbi from this contemporary synagogue where they dress normally, they don't observe kashrut or Shabbat. This was an Orthodox rabbi.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the guys who wear this, everything black with a funny hat. And I look at him and I said, Rabbi, I mean, you're a deeply religious man. You're an Orthodox Jewish rabbi. And you're taking this medication for what reason? He said, well, to reduce the risk of heart disease. And I said, you're not a rabbi. You're not a man of God. You're a hypocrite.
Interesting. What did he say?
Yeah.
He blushed and told me to bleep off.
Really?
And so that's what's going on in our society.
Uh-huh.
So people who think for a second that they can use invasive medical procedures to prolong their lives, they're kidding themselves. You can prolong your life only by living a wholesome life. Not smoking, not drinking, sleeping enough, exercising, eating in moderation,
mm-hmm.
being generous, being loving, taking good care of your family, making a lot of money, because that protects you from stress. Please do send donations. After the show, I will do too.
Oh, thank you.
And that's what you can do to protect your health. But going to those criminals who tell you that they can, for $2,000-$3,000, that, by the way, your insurance company will pay, save your life by removing your breasts or cutting off your colon or what have you. That's an idiocy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's a whole paradigm that we've been indoctrinated with our whole life is to rely on these people, when in reality, we really need to start educating ourselves, don't we, and start taking control of our own health.
Exactly. And so, but fortunately, if I die, I die, period. There are so many risks. There are 40,000 people will die in a car accidents each year.
Right.
So should I drive a car? No, I will go on and take a course on defensive driving. Or I'll invest in a safer automobile. Or I will not drink before I get into the car. Or I will not drive when I'm sleepy,
Right.
So there are zillions of reasons to do it. And so with everything in life, there are risks. Accept them. Embrace them. Do what you can. If you're full of wishful thinking, if you think you can eat like a pig, you can screw around, irrespective of the risks involved in this, and you still live a long and wholesome life, you are deluded. And unfortunately, most people are. And I don't mind. It brings a lot of business opportunities for people like me to teach them otherwise.
Oh, man. So I want to get back to a little bit of the one of the questions that Stella had. What do you think about the bone broth and the GAPS diet? Do you have any thoughts on those?
Oh, good question.
Well, GAPS diet has a big gap in it. A lot of people write me about it. It's a very permissive diet.
Okay.
It has some merits, I guess. It works for some, but it's very permissive. And if I correctly recall, I read some notes on the GAPS diet, and they do allow nuts to eat, like almonds and this and that. And I think this is like the worst food you can have because it contains proteins which are not digestible by our bodies because we don't have enzymes to break it. It contains rancid fatty acids, which are toxic and carcinogenic, because nuts were harvested a long time ago, and since these are mostly unsaturated or polyunsaturated fats, they do go rancid and become trans fats and have cancerous properties. And thirdly, nuts contain a lot of fat. 50 to 60% of nuts is a fat content, and people eat a lot of them, and that's not good. So when you combine these undigestible proteins, some amount of carbohydrates, and a lot of undigestible and a lot of fats, is it also substandard, which is like a major contributor in obesity. I don't think it's a wholesome food. And it's also very allergenic. And so if I deal with somebody who is exposed to digestive disorders, and mostly people who go onto this diet they go it because they have some kind of digestive problem. What you need to do is you need to really use a hypoallergenic diet. And hypoallergenic diet is essentially a very simple diet. It's what I call elementary nutrition. And in my book, elementary, the most elementary foods are rice, white rice, iron-free, God forbid fortified, because fortified iron, if you eat regular rice with fortification, iron is a very strong irritant for lining of the small intestine and the large intestine and even the stomach. And very difficult, by the way, to procure in the United States because fortification here is mandatory. And just meats, and preferably ground, and only once a day, meats and fish, and obviously natural fats, meaning butter, organic butter, from free-range animals, and cod liver oil, tablespoon a day.
Okay.
That's what elementary diet is all about. Very, very simple. No fruits, no vegetables, no breads, no pasta.
No nuts.
Again, because of iron.
No nuts, yeah.
No nuts, God forbid. Nuts
or seeds or anything like that.
Seeds as well?
No seeds. Yeah. No tomatoes. Tomatoes are exceptional allergenic food. No strawberries. Highly allergenic.
Right. And so what do you make about the bone broths? Are those good?
Bone broth is very good. If you do it from organic bones, and it's essential. So what are the bones? The bones are the depository of minerals. They contain phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, small amounts of potassium, and you do need those minerals.
Okay.
And when you boil bones for 6-7 hours, it breaks down those minerals from the bone, and so you take this concentrate, and they have a high degree of assimilation in your body. So yes, I'm all for broth. I try to drink a glass of broth a day, but again, it has to be homemade. It's not like you go to Whole Food and you buy this beef broth. It's not the same thing. It has to be homemade. You have to buy this bone marrow, right? That's how I pronounce it.
Right. Yeah, bone marrow.
And cook them for 5-6 hours and make it tasty. And it's a very, very healthy. And chicken broth, no, not that good. Despite its reputation of being Jewish penicillin, it's an urban myth. It's good for a sick person. And the reason, I guess it's a Jewish penicillin because if you feed a sick person with a regular American diet, you just make it worse.
Right.
So if you're only giving chicken soup, it's not as harmful as giving orange juice during the cold.
Oh, I see.
Essentially, putting fuel in a fire.
So when you're boiling this bone marrow, are you talking about boiling it with vegetables or just by itself with water and some salt?
Well, in the beginning, you just boil it with salt and water, and you add at the end, you add some vegetables only for taste. You don't boil it with vegetables because if you do, you ruin all the taste. Look at the techniques of French chefs are using. Everything that is sensitive to heat is added at the very, very end, so it retains some taste and some structure, so it's chewable.
Oh, right.
Interesting.
Well, Justin and I have done this before. I made our own broth, and we loved the taste. We loved it, and we drank it, and within an hour, we were so bloated. We were miserable. What do you think's going on with that situation?
But I guess you were doing it with lots of vegetables, right?
Yes, we were.
Yes.
Vegetables, fiber, all that fiber. Thoroughly cooked fiber, mixed as in a pulp, and you ingested it with pleasure with this tasty stock. And but the moment it hit your small intestine, it started to ferment. And the smaller it is, the easier it is for the bacteria to attack it, and the gases started to proliferate, and that's why you feel bloated.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
Maybe it's an allergy.
Huh.
Yeah, that is
That
fascinating.
makes sense. We were wondering.
So what are your thoughts on, I know that you've got a lot of thoughts on laxatives, but like Senna and Cascara Sagrada, are those things bad?
I wouldn't touch any of them because Senna is an irritant. It's therapeutic quality in being an irritant.
Okay.
So you develop diarrhea because you took something that is so irritating to your intestinal mucosa. Is it a good way to maintain regularity? Well, if you're really stuck, maybe. But on a permanent basis, that's how you develop IBD. That's how you develop all the problems. Because if you take Senna, what happens when we use laxatives to move bowels? Laxatives stop normal functioning of the colon, increase the fluids content in the colon, and that's how you move bowels. I mean, it's just causes pseudo-diarrhea.
Okay.
And Cascara is a source of soluble fiber, and it does the exact same thing. It just breaks assimilation of fluids in the large intestine, causes pseudo-diarrhea, and that's what you perceive as a bowel movement.
Do you think that... I'm sorry. Do you think that most people are dealing with IBD? I'm sorry. Irritable bowel syndrome? IBS?
I think IBD is more prevalent than IBS. Because IBS, well, again, it's a syndrome, okay? Irritable bowel syndrome. You come to the doctor and you say, "Doctor, I have a belly ache or my abdomen hurts." And they don't care what's the cause of it because it takes a lot of time and effort to figure it out. And in many cases, you can't. And so they develop this clinical code, universal clinical code, so you can build an insurance company. It says irritable bowel syndrome. So the moment you hear the word syndrome, it means I do not know what it is. But I still have an opportunity to bill for it.
Right.
Right.
So everything with S is what it is. It's
That's
bull.
so sad. It's so true.
Yeah. Irritable BS.
Oh, I love that.
That's true. So a lot of people, though, have supposedly have this condition. And
65 million or so.
65 million. Wow.
Yeah.
And to a greater or lesser degree, right?
Well, considering that we are a country of fiber eaters, that we all feed ourselves like the way we would feed our cows and horses, I'm not surprised. I mean, go and try to feed your horse with meat. She'll die. So if you eat horse feed all your life and you suffer from bloating, from pain, from hemorrhoids, why are you surprised? Don't eat like a horse. Eat like a human being.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the main issues with fiber are really the supplements people are taking, right? Not necessarily the foods, like you said at the beginning, right?
Well, actually, most people are eating fortified food because, again, remember, it is against the law to actually sell fiber laxatives for constipation relief.
Oh, that's right.
So it's mostly coming from fiber-fortified cereals, this bread with bran, fiber-fortified pasta, and soluble fiber added in profound quantities to dairy products, to ice creams, to yogurt, to anything made with milk, because all the milk, 99% of the milk Americans are drinking is artificial milk. It's made from a dry powder mixed with water and soy fat and stabilizer. If you don't add soluble fiber to not stabilize milk, it will, it will separate, and so it will not be drinkable.
Wow, I didn't
bring it back to the store and say my milk's spoiled.
That's wild. I didn't know that they added that soluble fiber to milk. That's amazing.
Just look at your, go to your refrigerator if you have a can of heavy cream and look at the back. It says it will have some couple of soluble fiber components there to just keep it stable. So use a stabilizer. That's what ultra-pasteurization is all about. It's ultra-pasteurized with a soluble fiber with a stabilizer, be it guar gum or carrageenan or pectin to keep it stable. And ice creams, they add a lot, so... we eat only one kind of ice cream, Häagen-Dazs. It's the only one that is still natural. They use heavy cream. They don't add soluble fiber to keep it stable.
Interesting. So if people are taking any supplements, they want to look for pectin, guar gum, and what was the other one?
You mean supplements for constipation?
Yeah, like let's say someone's taking any kind of supplement, really, if God knows what everyone's on, but whatever they're on, they want to look for some of those ingredients in there, right?
Well, the best thing, there are so many of the ingredients that are behind the not so much supplements. I would say it's drugs. These are not supplements. Supplements are something to supplement your diet because you cannot consume this in sufficient quantities otherwise. But these are drugs. These are laxative drugs. And the best thing I can say, if this is a problem for you or for your children or your parents or your grandparents, go on my website godsense.org and look it up. I mean, I analyze every single supplement. Every single laxative for their good and bad parts. Now, you will ask me, people may ask a reasonable question, Konstantin, but what do I do if I constipated? Well, many years ago, by sheer accident, a person came to me without a stomach. A lady had a stomach cancer. She came to me and say, Konstantin, I need something to, I cannot digest anything. I don't have a stomach. What kind of supplements do I take to just, stay alive? I'm already suffering enough, but what can I do to extend my life? And when it happened, I said, well, you can only take, liquid supplements. And she said, do you have any? I said, no, I don't sell supplements. Can you find some for me? I said, well, I try. And I started to collect for her all kinds of supplements, and I never give anything to my clients or patients without trying it first myself. I'm very sensitive to things, so I see it right away what it does. So I found the source of the soluble vitamin C, and I dissolve a teaspoon of it in a glass of water, and I took it in the morning as directed, and suddenly I have this tremendous, it just has, like 30 minutes down the road, it has a profound laxative effect on me.
Wow.
But it was a very small dose, because I knew that vitamin C has a very strong laxative effect on large doses. That's what, Professor Pauling, double Nobel laureate, discovered ages ago. He was taking 10 grams of vitamin C a day and lived to age 97 and finally died from prostate cancer, unfortunately. But it's inescapable. You can prevent every single disease, but not cancer. It's a degenerative disease, and our body degeneration is starting as soon as we are born. Like people will say to me, Konstantin, are you going to live a long life? I have no clue because, listen, I only started to even understand what it is to take good care of health when I was in my 50s.
Right.
So I have 50 years of damage of living this abnormal life, taking every crappy drug I could and believing it is a scrub that you can actually go into a doctor and he save your life. And by the way, I also have a classical medical education. I graduated from a medical school.
Wow.
So I'm a pharmacist. I used to be a strong believer in drugs. I used to believe that, drugs will solve everything. That's a mantra of drug makers. That's how you make money. You tell people to believe that, live as you like, do whatever you want to do, but we'll take care of you once the time will come.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope right there, isn't it?
Exactly. So I took that thing, and it just had this profound effect on me. And I said, well, that's something wrong. And I kind of started to investigate and, finding optimal dose. And then I developed a preparation called Hydra C, which I refer to as a colonic moisturizer. And it's the only quote-unquote, it's not laxative technically, but it's the only quote-unquote laxative which is hyperallergenic, non-addictive, doesn't cause IBD, doesn't cause IBS, doesn't cause bloating or flatulence, and also it's very healthy for you because it contains vitamin C, calcium, magnesium, and potassium. So it's safe. And by the way, I was affected by constipation all my life. I told you my story when my mother taught me to straighten. What's it? Okay, there is a term for it when you tell kids, don't have to. What's the term for it?
Hold it.
Hold it, exactly.
Just hold it.
I know the word in Russian, it's like has a specific word, but
yeah.
Going to hold it.
That works for now.
Yes. So I was a hold it kind of guy. And girls are even much more susceptible to hold it syndrome, especially like during weddings and honeymoons. I mean, you'd be amazed, girls go for honeymoon and they live with a guy for years and years, and then suddenly when they start to live together in the same suite or the same apartment, they're embarrassed to go to the bathroom. Girls, men don't believe that, you don't do the same things with you.
Right.
No,
it's true. I know.
And if they don't go, they come back home bloated, and they suddenly, they develop flatulence during violent sex.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the way to turn off your boyfriend or husband.
Didn't know what they were getting into.
Wow.
If you have to hold it for this guy, he is not worth it.
Yes.
But you have a whole colorectal recovery program too on your site that I see.
Yes. I hate selling supplements. And I used to, when I work with patients, I used to send them to a store. And then they go to store, and I give them a list of what to take. And obviously, salespeople have a different sales incentive. So they will look at the list and say, oh, everything on this list is crap. Here's what you want to take. And it usually be more expensive, less effective, but more commissions to them.
Interesting.
And that got me into the business of essentially selling supplements and selling the same supplements I'm taking myself, and I'm taking a professional grade supplements made by a professional supplement manufacturer. Very expensive to procure, very low margin. And so if I tell people all this, stories about how bad fiber is and this and that, and they stop fiber, and what happens? They develop even more severe constipation. Why? Well, because fiber is an addictive substance. Fiber works by increasing the bulk of your stool, the size of your stools, and by essentially using gravitation to force them out. And when you stop, your colon is already enlarged, your nerves in your anal canal are damaged, and you no longer feel urge sensation, and suddenly people develop fecal impaction. So I had to do something. And so reluctantly, I went into the business of developing supplements and marketing the supplements to my clients. And my site is very unusual. It doesn't have a traditional thing on the web where say, every page has to have a call to action. Every page has to have a money-back warranty. Everything that you do has to hold the person by their neck so that they will buy from you. My site is a complete opposite. It says, don't buy until you read it. And my site has a huge amount of information. And every good wisher said to me, Konstantin, you're an idiot. Why are you writing so much for these idiots? For these people. I mean, they call their customers as idiots. But, why are you writing for these idiots? Nobody going to read it. And I said, well, listen, I don't care. Those who will read, they will benefit. But those who will not read, they will not benefit out of it anyway. And I will end up having even more problems on my hand if I will give people insufficient amount of information and they will take on this information and it will not work for them. Guess whose fault it will become? It will become my fault. So that's what I did. I provided enormous amount of information, and I'm very, very fortunate to have a very high quality customer base. They're very intelligent people. They do read the site. They study it. They never bother me with questions. I mean, remarkably, my mailbox does not contain enormous amount. I mean, I get about 2,000 visitors every day on my website, about 60 to 70,000 a month. And maybe I get, 2-3 mails a day.
Wow.
Some serious, very few. I mean, but mostly like a silly, I got in the mail from the guy from India, and he sent me a note and asking a question. He said, "Mr. Monastyrsky, I have wet dreams at night. Can it be related to fiber?"
You never know what you're going to get in those emails.
You'd be surprised. Yes, it is. It can be related to fiber, actually.
Wow.
Because if you have a very bulky stool and prostate and the colon, the rectum, they are adjoining organs, and so if you have large stools, they will actually increase pressure on the prostate gland and on all the surrounding organs, which is male reproductive organs, and they can stimulate. One of the most early symptoms of colon cancer in men. Sex urge.
Really?
Erection, yep. Because when they have this enlargement in the colon, it actually pushes. It's stimulates. It stimulates urinary organs or male reproductive organs, and that's how they. So that's one. So technically, a young man with very large stools will have an equivalent of a sex toy in his ass, and that's what will make cause of wet dreams.
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting. Golly.
Hydra C can solve this problem.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It's all connected.
It's all connected. Same thing, PMS, premenstrual syndrome.
Yeah.
Same thing. In an abdominal cavity in skinny women, not skinny, normal built women without lots of bulk, is a very tight organ. And so if you have large stools and your colon will expand, and if you have a lot of gases, your intestines will expand. And guess what organs it's going to press? It's going to press your ovaries. It's going to press your... Yeah, I lost it.
Oh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I lost the word. It's going to press your...
Oh, okay. Oh, your uterus.
What do we do during what's the name of the organ we remove during hysterectomy?
Is it the uterus, right?
Uterus. It will press your uterus.
Okay.
People don't laugh. My wife speaks only Russian. So I speak Russian 99% of my time, but I write in English 100% of my time. And sometimes I lose a word, especially it's very easy to do if you don't do it day in, day out.
Right.
We're glad. We just thought we lost you.
No. I just lost a word. It's my senior moment.
Not at all.
Well, this is great information, Konstantin, and I just want to direct everyone to your website, which is gutsense.org, and check out his colorectal recovery program and his book, Fiber Menace, which is really, really fascinating if you're interested. But then also just go onto his website and read all the information. He's got information on constipation, hemorrhoids, anal fissures, IBS, diverticular disease, dysbacteriosis, fiber menace, colon cancer,
autism, travel-related constipation, wedding-related constipation, whatever. It's like it's about
there.
everything. Anything connected to organs down there. Anal sex, by the way, the most popular article on my site is about anal sex.
Wow. That's
remarkable.
Yeah, amazing, huh?
Wow.
Wow. We both say wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to write an article about wet dreams. Maybe it will also become popular. And some people say, I want to have wet dreams. When I was young, it was really fun. Now I'm 60, I no longer have them. Constantly, how do I get wet dreams? I will eat more fiber.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Stop act.
That is so good. So yeah, check out his website, gutsense.org. And wow, Konstantin, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was so much fun.
Justin, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure to work with you guys, both of you. And I hope our collective work will help a lot of people to solve the problems one person at a time. Thank you guys very, very much.
You're so welcome. All right, so what do you think of Konstantin monastyrsky?
I am so happy I've had the pleasure to be on this one because I was not able to do that episode you had with him, episode 44.
Right.
Oh, man. He is great. He's great.
He is so good, isn't he?
I love him.
Oh, my gosh. He's so funny, and he looks so serious, like he said on his website, but he's really
just
a good guy.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's the perfect amount of everything as far as he's entertaining, but he's very knowledgeable and he's funny.
His kindness.
He's super kind.
Yeah.
Super just gentle. His spirit is just awesome.
And he's just out to help people, which is really cool.
Oh, can't you tell the difference?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. So I want to thank you guys so much for being on this call. And don't forget to visit his website, gutsense.org. Constipation, digestion, disease, it all starts in the colon, and keeping good colon health is critical. So, if his information resonates with you, you may want to go onto his store and look at his colorectal recovery program. If what he said kind of resonates with you at all, you can also follow him on Facebook and things like that on his website, gutsense.org. And if you're interested, you can also buy his book, Fiber Menace, from either his website, Amazon, or if you want to support us, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/Amazon or /123 for this show and buy it off our website. But
that's right. That's an easy one. 123.
123. So thank you guys so much. And we had an honor. It was an honor for us to be here with you. So if there's anything we could ever do for you, just let us know. And I think that's it, right?
I think that's a wrap.
Oh, one thing you can do for us, if you like, if you want to go ahead and share this show page, 123, with anybody you know that may be getting colonoscopies, or if they have hemorrhoids or anything like that, feel free to share this show page with them. So you can either send it to them via email or on Facebook. And
everyone benefits.
So
a lot of really good information in that show, I think.
Yeah. So thank you so much, guys, for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now, but our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download our free gift too that contains cutting-edge strategies to start making healthy lifestyle changes today.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even as you educate yourself in the field of live food nutrition and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers or listeners medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog and during this podcast is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any of the information on this podcast or in this blog, or to start any health program without first consulting a health professional. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is in no way intended as medical advice, as a substitute for medical counseling, or as a treatment or cure for any disease or health condition, and nor should it be construed as such. Always work with